was on money, Bible, best practices, and we're delighted to have Jack here as a cameo appearance after helping us out for 3 weeks with great financial advice early on. So we will continue this week, and I'll open us in prayer. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time of fellowship. We thank you for the blessings you give Grand Ledge Baptist. We pray tonight that our time together would be meaningful and that we'd be good stewards of all the blessings that you give us, and help us to be faithful and generous with those less fortunate in our communities. In Christ's name we pray, amen. Okay, tonight I am tasked with talking about higher education and financing. It's a narrow subject, so I'm going to broaden it a little bit and also talk about the Michigan economy and what's going on with higher ed currently in the state of Michigan, as well as a few other things that actually have a lot to do with the financing of higher education. My name is Bob Anderson. I'm a certified public accountant. I was the CFO for Housing and Food Services at MSU. Worked there 33 years. My budget was $315 million. We served 30,000 meals a day, and I worked with all facets of the university, from the financial statements in the controller's office to long-term debt financing, repair of facilities, and I served food during COVID for a year on the cafeteria line when we were short. So I've got a lot of experience with all areas. Before that, I was the budget director at St. Lawrence Hospital, got some healthcare finance background. I worked with PricewaterhouseCoopers, CPAs in Detroit for several years after college. I did graduate from MSU with an accounting degree. I'm on 3 nonprofit boards. I'm the treasurer of 2 of those, so that keeps me busy and keeps my financial skills sharp. So I've got a lot of experience with higher ed and financing and things like that. Most of it with MSU, but I've got some familiarity with other institutions as well. Anytime you've got a question during the presentation, let me know. Be very informal. We got a smaller group tonight. And just for showing up, I hope everybody here takes away either a payday or $100,000, okay? So, as well as some documentation you can take with you. It's very, very helpful for FAFSA and for financial aid coming up for the state of Michigan. Tonight's topic, the value of higher education. One thing that it does is it contributes to the good of the greater society. And I'm an advocate of continuing ed. That was my vocation for many, many years, and I think that everybody can benefit from continuing higher ed, whether it's lifelong learning, trade school, vocational school, community college, higher ed, doesn't matter. It's important to keep learning your entire life, and for many, many reasons. It leads to improved critical thinking among our population, improved quality of life. One example might be health insurance as provided by your job. It also provides research and knowledge advancement. I know at Michigan State we do about $1 billion a year in research. We invented a lot of chemotherapy drugs like carboplatin and cisplatin back in the early 70s, which are still used today as 2 of the main chemo treatment drugs, so it produces a lot in the way of research. Community service. MSU has a lot of service outreach with our clinics and our health network all through the state of Michigan, including a partnership with Henry Ford and Hurley in Flint. And also the emphasis on continuing education has a direct correlation to a higher per capita income for the state of Michigan, which the higher tide should raise all boats. This is an interesting survey. It's a little hard to read, but Detroit News worked with the Chamber of Commerce in Detroit to ask 600 people in the state their perception of where Michigan stands in the country in terms of per capita income, reading, college degrees, employment, and tech jobs. So the light gray circle is what the voters or the survey recipients thought we were. And down here is the rank of states. So here is the 5th best state, and down the far right is the 50th best state, taking up the rear. And almost without exception, all of the survey respondents had a higher impression of where Michigan was than actually where we are with the red dot and we're actually at. One thing that's really interesting is income per capita. Right now, Michigan stands at 40th in the country. So a lot of people thought we were more of a prosperous state. Guess what? We are heading in the wrong direction. Our workforce has 32% college attainment rate. Per capita income is $63,221. 10% of our jobs in the state pay less, are paid more than $100,000. Our household income has fallen, as I mentioned, to 40th. Back as early as 2000, we were 16th in the nation. So we were heading in the wrong direction. A great example of a paradigm that we compare ourselves to is Massachusetts in terms of attainment of college degrees. They have 56% of their workforce with a college attainment degree. Their average per capita income is $93,000, second in the nation, and 25% of their jobs pay more than $100,000. There's a direct correlation between an educated workforce and per capita income. One of the reasons for that is the decline in manufacturing. We have great paying jobs here since the war in the state of Michigan, of course starting with Henry Ford and his $5 per day assembly line. But things have fallen off as we have lost lots and lots of manufacturing jobs since 2000, hundreds of thousands of jobs lost, and a lot of the assembly plant jobs in Michigan have either gone overseas to Mexico or the southern U.S. A great example is, of course, Lansing's the home of Oldsmobile, and virtually every Olds in the country from post-war up into the mid-70s was built in Lansing, Michigan. Some of the most popular selling cars, the Cutlass in '77, was the #1 selling car in the country, built right here in Lansing. Now Grand River Assembly builds 2 Cadillac sedans. They put out 21,000 a year. In comparison, the Toyota plant in Georgetown, Kentucky last year assembled 475,000 RAV4s and 310,000 Camrys. It is the largest Toyota plant in the world, exceeding anything in Japan. Jack, where's the largest BMW plant in the world?
I know it's in the U.S., but I don't remember what state.
Spartanburg, South Carolina builds more BMWs than any place in Germany, any place else. What you're seeing is a lot of auto assembly in the country, but it's not necessarily here anymore like it used to be. Here's a map of our assembly sites, and you can see a lot of those dots in the southern states produce lots and lots of Kias, Hyundais, Mercedes-Benz, Hondas, Volkswagens, Subarus in Lafayette, Indiana, all over the place, and fewer in some of the Rust Belt states. Stellantis is struggling right now. Their stock is $7.50 a share. Chrysler only has one model out. It's a minivan, and it used to be a very, very large, active part of the Detroit Three, and they are declining in size. So it's interesting now to see a lot of final assembly jobs not in Michigan as they once were. What's built here? Anybody?
Tesla.
Teslas. Good. Good. It used to be a joint venture between GM and Toyota, but now it's Tesla's. We have too few college-educated citizens to build a knowledge-based economy, and worse, the #1 zip code for FSU and U of M grads right now is Chicago. A lot of our grads are leaving the state of Michigan and heading to Chicago. There's a head nodding right there. You know about it?
Yeah, I went to Loyola in Chicago.
Yep.
It's a really fun place.
A fun place to be. Aha, which leads to my next bullet. 325,000 college-educated 24 to 35-year-olds are in the Chicago area compared to 25,000 in Detroit, 22,000 in Grand Rapids. So a lot of our educated, bright and best, are leaving the state. An emphasis on Michigan for higher ed performance would increase prosperity and per capita income. So for the state of Michigan right now, 13% of our populace lives at or below the federal poverty line, which is $15,000 per person, $31,006 for a family of 4. About 53% of our families in Michigan live paycheck to paycheck. If you had a $1,000 emergency medical bill come up right now, just about half of the population of Michigan couldn't afford to pay that. Defined benefit health care retirement plans that were very prevalent with the assembly jobs for automakers and things like that, and also for state workers, are disappearing. There's very few places that offer defined benefit health care or retirement anymore like they once did. Most of it is now defined contribution, or you contribute to your own health care spending account. So that also leads to a decline in prosperity, where, say, General Motors, after 30 years, you could retire with full health care and full pension the rest of your life, a lot of times in the low 50s for ages. You're not seeing that anymore. And what do we do with our money? Last year, I love this, $3.8 billion in gross receipts for online gaming. This is playing the casino games on your phone. This isn't going to Firekeepers. This is on your phone. And Michigan is one of the few states where online gambling and sports gambling has exploded, very, very popular. And also we spent $3.17 billion on pot last year. So recreational pot also is a big industry. It's starting to decline now with overproduction. But those are a couple of areas that they used to call fool's taxes. And so that's kind of a drain on a populace that can ill afford things like that, especially with online gaming on your phone. There's a direct correlation between income prosperity and the emphasis on education. Here's a couple of comparisons on degree level of education. High school diploma in Michigan, about 36.9, or without a high school diploma, 42 if you have a high school diploma. An associate's degree average pay is $55,000. Trade school, $68,000. A bachelor's degree of $77,000. Master's earning about $90,000 a year. And an advanced or terminal degree of a doctoral or professional degree can net you 6 figures. So there's big disparity in level of education and corresponding net income. Trade schools, an excellent area right now where we have a shortage in Michigan. Generally, trade school graduates have higher lifetime earnings. They can make $60,000 to $76,000 for electricians, dental hygienists, and exceed those even with a 4-year degree. Trade programs offer faster, lower cost training and allow graduates to start earning in 2 to 4 years earlier with less debt. So right now, trade schools are a terrific area in Michigan for employment opportunities. We have a shortage of plumbers, we have a shortage of welders and HVAC people, healthcare workers. It's a great area and there's shortages. I know friends of mine that have plumbing businesses up north and they cannot find apprentices, cannot find anybody to take over because nobody wants to work that hard. It's very difficult in the plumbing trades in particular. There's a shortage. In the state of Michigan, currently we have 15 four-year public universities, over 40 private schools, 28 public community college, and numerous vocational and trade schools. Michigan is very blessed with lots of opportunities for higher education at almost every level. Some of the popular trade programs which I just mentioned that we have training for in Michigan would be electrician, HVAC, and you can see the list there, all excellent fields of study that quite often you don't have to have the big investments in education or the time spent. And we'll talk a little bit about what it costs right now for higher education and what's happening with student populations in the state of Michigan. So, for example, these are 3 schools I'm pretty well familiar with. Hope College right now, full rate $61,000 a year. MSU at $31,722. LCC at $5,348. That's without housing allowance. Housing would cost you about $13,000 more. But you see the big disparity in levels of MSRP, which is full rate for these schools, and that includes tuition, room and board, books, fees, supplies, and so forth. So that's the current tariff on that. That is not inexpensive, but there are ways that you can finance that and afford that quite affordably. Many, many things you can do to start planning early, but that's the current going rate. In 25 years, at 4% inflation, Hope will be $157,000 a year. MSU at $81,000, and LCC a bargain at $13,709. Community college is a lot cheaper for tuition because the state subsidizes LCC heavily. 2/3 of the general fund cost of Lansing Community College is paid for by the state of Michigan. At Michigan State and the other publics in the state, only about 25% of our general fund is supported by the state. So as the state has gone broke and had hard times with their budgets, they've reduced the appropriation to higher ed universities, but still paying a ton of money in subsidizing community colleges.
Do you see income differences between these different colleges, the way you see, like, private, public, and, or like the same way you see it between different levels of
Coming
education?
out,
Yeah.
pretty similar. Accounting at Hope would be similar to accounting at Michigan State and things like that. So pretty similar. But that's what it would be in theory in 25 years. So inflation marches on, and there's many reasons for that. But the state has not funded the universities quite as generously as they used to Back 50, 60 years ago, the state of Michigan funded about 2/3 of all higher education and subsidized tuition, and that has gone down a lot, which leads to higher costs for folks attending these schools. They think that tuition, room and board books will probably go up in continuing 3 to 5% a year on average for the foreseeable future. So it will continue to go up in terms of cost. So here's our demographics, and this is very interesting also. Here's the birth rate in Michigan going back 125 years, and the trend from 2016 on is going to continue to go down. So we are a state that right now we have the lowest birth rate since World War II. So it continues to go down. Raising kids obviously is very, very expensive, and our birth rate continues to erode. The latest year was 2016, but the last 8 years has continued that downward trend. And so we're currently at the lowest point since post-war. This is sobering for a higher ed guy like me. Here's our 5 to 17-year-old populations in the state of Michigan from 2000 up till now, and then projected to 2050. That looks like a very fun ski slope I skied in last week at Crystal Mountain, but that is not good news for the next generation of Michigander. What this tells me is we have declining graduation rates in high school, declining population among the K-12. So that obviously is going to be a factor in workforce. It's going to be a factor in who changes your diapers in the nursing home and things like that down the road. So this is a decline in population for the state of Michigan 25 years from now. This is in contrast to some of the other states like Florida, which is adding 1,000 people per day, and Texas, California, and some of the other places that are gaining in population. Michigan is also losing representation in Washington. We just lost a House seat about 3 years ago because of a declining population, and the House of Representatives is based on relative population, not 2 senators per state. So we are losing representation also. Similarly, public education universities in Michigan are experiencing a decline as well. We've dropped about 10.5% from 2011 up until 2 years ago. And we're seeing a shift. U of M, Ann Arbor, and Michigan State have grown. We have picked up students at the expense of the regional universities. And there's severe declines in some of our public regional schools, some over 50%, and that's a shrinking K-12 population, a demographic cliff, and also there's 2 other factors at play with declining public university enrollment in Michigan. One is the decline in international students, and 2 is the decline in out-of-state students, because Michigan public institutions charge double tuition if you're from Ohio or Indiana. And if you're an international student, you pay 2.5 times the tuition rate that an in-state domestic would have. And so those are both in decline, which is putting more pressure on the general fund because of declining populations there.
So is the K through 12, back to that previous one, K through 12, is that decline in public education only, or is that including?
This is
public
no education. This is just head counts going to high schools.
Okay, so public and private?
Doesn't matter. This is a population demographics, got nothing to do with
The
it.
next, the one. So it says, this is driven by shrinking K through 12 population.
Here's the shrinking population, and with less people, are less people going to college.
Okay, so you're saying that makes up everyone.
Yep, so this is everybody, and this is that decline then also results in fewer people going to college. That make sense?
Yeah, I just wanted to know if it covered all education, private and public,
Yep,
so.
yep. Okay, so what we're seeing is U of M and MSU are robbing students from Central Michigan. Central Michigan's enrollment is going down 53% since 2010. You might have noticed all the Central Michigan ads on TV with their career guarantee now and things like that. they're really struggling for students. MSU and U of M, of course, with a slightly different reputation of their acceptance standards for students. 85% now of all people who apply to MSU get in. A few years ago, that was a little over 50%. So what MSU is doing to offset the loss of international and out-of-state students and things like that is to lower their standards, accept more people that perhaps might have used to go to Eastern or to Saginaw Valley. So the directional schools and the regional schools are hardest hit. So overall, it's down 10%, but it's really, really impacting some of the outlying schools. Michigan Tech, U of M, and MSU are the only ones that are actually showing an increase in enrollment. Everybody else is down.
Yeah, if they're struggling to get students and they're charging double the tuition for out-of-state students, why don't they drop the tuition for out-of-state?
Excellent.
Central does.
Central
Central's not doing out of state.
Right, they are wheeling and they are dealing. And also places like Hope College, when you enter as a freshman this fall, they will guarantee you your tuition will not go up for 4 years. So they are making aggressive opportunities and deals with prospective students. They're offering, as we'll see coming up, higher scholarship amounts, and they are starting to be very aggressive when it comes to discounting and scholarships. Great point. So we talked about the demographic cliff, shrinking number of high school graduates. Talked about the enrollment shifts, cost value concerns. Despite initiatives like our Achievement Scholarship, cost of education has reduced attendance. Only 53.3% of the 2023 high school graduating class enrolled in college within 6 months. And with the overall enrollment down, the demographic shifts have reduced the enrollment. Although interestingly, Hispanic enrollment is up, while black student enrollment has dropped 42% in the last 11 years.
Is that at all related to the overall demographics of the state? Like, are we seeing a shift?
What's
in
bucking the trend are the number of Hispanic enrollments, which actually grew. So that's bucked the trend. I don't know if the Hispanic demographic in Michigan has increased quite a bit or the prosperity levels, but that is one area of ethnicity that's actually bucking the trend increasing. Great point. Fred?
On that first point over here, a shrinking number of high school graduates, is that because there are less students in the state or because some of them are just not graduating?
Less students in the state.
Less students, okay.
Yep. It's declining birth rate and now filtering through K-12. Community colleges. This is a surprise. With the low cost for like LCC and things like that, they're heavily subsidized. Community colleges have dropped 21% from 19 to 23. A lot of that was the pandemic, but also with a lot of the online offerings and things like that. It's very surprising to see our community college also dipping quite a bit in enrollment the past few years, which is interesting because the community college is an ideal way to get an associate's degree and to have all those credits transferred to Michigan State after 2 years, cutting the cost of room and board and the high tuition costs at MSU or U of M by being able to transfer your credits from, say, Washtenaw Community College, Oakland Community College, LCC, GRCC. Those are great schools and a way to get a good education and an associate's degree with credits at transfer for a fraction of the price. So this was surprising to me to see the community college enrollments declining dramatically. 21%, that's huge. Again, the future outlook, our population declines are expected to continue through 2050. We're supposed to have some institutions stabilizing through increased recruitment. The Michigan Achievement Scholarship was enacted by state government, and they're trying to do a lot of things they can to make college more affordable and get more students to attend. This hits Michigan State. 12, 13 years ago, we had a huge amount of Chinese students at MSU. And they were flush with money, and they were very active in the business and engineering areas at Michigan State. And they paid 2.5 times as much tuition as an in-state kid, say, from Fowlerville. That is almost completely dried up now. A lot of the Chinese students that were here 12 and 13 years ago are no longer here, either because of immigration and visa issues, and then COVID completely locked it down and wiped it out, starting in the summer of 2020, when China actually had a lockdown of the population in some areas and things like that, and MSU has not rebounded. Now that hurts our general fund a lot, because with that 2.5x tuition delta from international students, that's now gone, and that puts more pressure on the general fund to increase tuition for the domestic in-state kids from Bloomington, for example. So tuition for those that still do attend Michigan State goes up because our international student population is going down. And the Chinese contingent was huge. Ohio State had so many out-of-state Chinese students, they set up an admissions office over in Beijing. And so it was big, big business about 15 years ago for many, many American institutions. Still, a lot of them do have large contingents of Chinese students. Michigan is not one of those. So MSU in particular has lost lots and lots of international students, probably starting in 18, 19, and certainly with COVID. So it's really taking a toll on some of the revenues for the state schools. Private schools are hit even worse, where some of the state schools have protections and some appropriations. These are a list of our private schools that have gone out of business in Michigan in the past several years. Concordia and Siena kind of are the latest to dry up, but it's been very, very difficult for small privates also to keep going. So with the high costs and the declining enrollment in K-12 graduation rates in Michigan, these smaller schools are really struggling. But out of chaos comes opportunity. It's a great opportunity in time now to leverage our K-12 graduate students with the ability to cost compete and get lower costs for college tuition, housing, and room and board. Regional schools are offering substantial scholarships to compete with University of Michigan and MSU. Private schools also are heavily discounting with their tuition freezes and willing to offer large either athletic scholarships or financial aid to equal the cost of the publics. A great way to do that is to plan ahead, start visiting colleges early, do early application, acceptance, leverage, and obtain scholarships that way. I know one family named the McLaughlins that did a brilliant job of that with their children by actually visiting some of these other schools and leveraging one against the other to find the best economic opportunity. And so Nikki and Brian can teach this class just as well as I could because they've been so successful in navigating the costs and using their leverage to do that. But to do so, you have to do your homework and start early. But there are opportunities and discounts to be had.
How early is early?
Because they still get people who pay full freight.
Okay, yeah.
Yep. So it's like your car dealership. How come GM doesn't lower the Traverse cost from $50,000? Well, you can discount it some, but they keep them high. And you'll see them freeze for a while, but they also have pressures with higher wages and benefit costs. I know at MSU right now, our healthcare insurance is going up about 18% a year from Blue Cross this year. Huge increase. You just have to pass that along. You cannot absorb an 18% healthcare increase for 10,000 employees. So costs keep going up and wages keep going up too for these institutions. Good question. Another thing you can do is, when you're contemplating enrolling in an area of higher education, is consider the current shortages of these positions in the state of Michigan. Huge shortage in nursing, health sciences, teaching. MSU is actually reducing the time and cost to getting your teaching certificate. At MSU, our College of Education, which is one of the best in the country, used to require a 4-year degree and then a 5th year of student teaching. And in that 5th year, you had to continue to pay tuition and you did not get paid to student teach. Now, there's such a shortage of teachers, shortage of kids in those programs, they've actually dropped that last year of cost for your student teaching. And a lot of other schools, if you student teach, the student teacher now gets paid. And so they're reducing the time to graduation and reducing the extra cost. So because of the huge shortages right now in teachers, the schools are reacting to try to get more graduates out into the schools. Criminal justice, another area where there's a huge shortage of not only law enforcement officers in Michigan, but also corrections officials right now. Just a huge shortage of workers, as well as nursing and teachers. The STEM fields are still very, very good, especially engineering and computer science. So there are some ways that you've got a student contemplating what to study. These areas have still strong job demands on the other side. Business is always pretty good. Accounting, supply chain at Michigan State is #1 in the country, so that's a very hot major for supply chain skills right now. Skilled trades, which I mentioned earlier, plumbing, electrical, HVAC, caregiving, are in huge demand. So if your students are considering any of these careers and things like that, in Michigan, there's employment shortages, openings, and higher wages coming out on the other end. So these are ways also you can leverage your position in the state of Michigan to take advantage of the employment shortfalls and of the declining K-12 education. Here's other ways to finance and meet the higher cost of education past the leveraging, past working one school against the other for discounts and things like that. Timing. When's the best time to start planning and saving to meet the higher cost of education? Right then. When's the second best time to start planning and saving to meet the cost of higher education? Today. Just like a tree, Jack. When's the best date to plant a tree? 20 years ago. When's the next best date to plant a tree? Today. All right, here's my favorite. I like having everybody else pay for my kids' education. And in particular at Michigan State, the mother lode is advanced placement. This is like stealing from Michigan State and many other schools. It is such a great deal. IB programs, also International Baccalaureate is really good. Dual enrollment is really good. And in Lansing, you can do that between your high school and LCC, be enrolled in both, and earn college credit while you're in high school. Grand Ledge does a good job at that. After that, my next favorite way to pay for college is have other people pay for it through scholarships, grants, work studies, graduate assistance, or tuition reimbursement if you're in the working area. My next favorite way to pay for college is start early and start a 529 plan or a MET. We'll talk about savings programs, investments, and student jobs. My least favorite way to pay for education is, of course, borrowing and going into debt. But I will say this, it's prudent debt, and investing in your own education is still an excellent use of debt. Whereas perhaps credit card debt is the worst thing you can do, investing in yourself and your own education is a really good thing to do. Like a home mortgage, that's good, prudent debt. It's my least favorite, but it's a viable option, and it also is a great way to finish out paying for a college education. Starts with the FAFSA. On your handout of packets, I've got stuff for all you guys to take with you tonight. If you're not going to use them yourself, pass it along to a grandkid or a friend. The FAFSA is where it starts. That's the pre-application for federal student aid. It's an online kind of application for all things student aid. It comes into play in particular for student loans and for scholarships and things like that. But that's the place to start. I filled it out every year with my kids. Usually it comes open in October of every year. Doesn't cost anything to do, but it's a great place to start to get your foot in the door to apply for scholarships. Financial aid scholarships also are largely based on the FAFSA and on the student's ability to pay. So all those hinge, it starts with the FAFSA, a great place to start. Okay, here's my favorites. Advanced placement and IB. In your handout is actually the summary of credits Michigan State offers for advanced placement credits. So for example, Grand Ledge High School does a great job, say, of AP US History. And if you take that class, which you can take early as sophomore or junior year at Grand Ledge, or like my kids did at Waverly, all of these AP classes have a nationwide standardized test in the first week of May. So the teachers teach to the exam, and then everybody takes the exam at the exact same time for advanced placement. And based on the score you get from 1 to 5 can determine if the college you're applying to will actually give you credits for those areas of study. So my kids at Waverly, they all took AP US History. They only needed to score a 3 out of 5 on their exam, and MSU gave them 8 credits. That's worth $4,000 in tuition you don't have to pay. And in addition to that, it's better than a scholarship because not only don't you have to pay, but guess what? You walk through the door as a freshman in college and you've got 8 credits in your back pocket towards the 120 to graduate from MSU. And on this list, you'll see 8 credits offered for biology, for physics, for chemistry, 7 credits for Calc BC, language and little give you 3. And this is the very specific fine print thing that Michigan State really doesn't advertise much, but it's worth its weight in gold. And this is where planning early starts for your kids as sophomores in high school. Start signing up for these AP classes. It really helps if they're good test takers, but when you only have to get a 3 out of 5 in some of them, you don't have to be that good. And it really, really helps. So my first kid walked into MSU with 24 credits. My second kid walked into MSU with 39 credits. She came in as a sophomore. And that saves a lot of money, not only in tuition you don't have to pay, but it also means room and board you don't have to pay, because it saves you a full year on that. I think our world record at Michigan State is one student came in with 107 credits in AP, meaning you only have 13 to go to graduate. So, genius level, yes, but doable. So I love that for paying for college, and that's where starting early really pays off to work your college curriculum in high school geared toward either AP or STEM classes. Really, really helps. International Baccalaureate also is excellent. That's also a standardized program where you can get college credits based on test scores, and that's another way to really, really leverage and maximize your time in high school to pay for college. It is terrific. Dual enrollment. Grand Ledge does a great job of letting students take classes at LCC, get credits for Grand Ledge High and for credits for LCC. You can pretty much get your associate's degree just about the same time you walk across graduation for Grand Ledge. Dual enrollment is a great way to cut costs, say for your first couple of years at community college.
And the Grand Ledge program through LCC is free.
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 Free. Free is good, Jack.
Free is good.
Yeah, free. There's ways to really knock down the cost of higher ed.
Are a lot of those dual enrollment classes similar to the ones that they could just test out of with this AP stuff?
Some are, others are just general classes. Bear?
I did take an AP and a dual enrollment class.
Yep.
Both the same, and I did have a much better experience with the dual enrollment than the AP, but it was pretty comparable. But again, dual enrollment was
Kills
more-
2 birds.
Yeah.
And if you're not a good test taker, the dual enrollment can be much better, because the AP exam's all weighted based on the test, and
All your eggs are in one basket in AP. If you have a bad hair day on the day of the Calc BC thing and you bomb it, you get no credit. It's a great opportunity. You learn a lot about calculus. You just can't translate that into college credits if you have a bad hair day on May 8th. So, yep, it pays for a good test taker. But back in the day when ACT and SAT were required for admission into colleges, you still had to be a good test taker for that. And I got news, you still got to be a good test taker at MSU too. So, second best, scholarships. There's lots and lots and lots of scholarships out there, and the state of Michigan is now involved in that too. And the Michigan Achievement Scholarship is relatively new, and that offers great opportunity for students for 4-year community college and trade school. And I've got a whole section here on Michigan Achievement Scholarship that you can take with you. It talks about planning for college, planning for community college, planning for trade school, and how much that can pay. For some of the university scholarships the state will give you, up to $5,000 a year. Some of that is need-based, but for community college, it's not need-based. Basically, the Michigan Achievement Scholarship will allow every graduating kid in the state of Michigan from high school a free community college education. Jack, is free good?
Free is good.
Jack says free is good. So, the Michigan Achievement Scholarship is really, really good. It's new, and the state now recognizes with declining K-12 enrollment and with the need to get an educated workforce, that this is a great way to help reduce some of the cost of higher ed through the Achievement Scholarship. So here's a packet with specifics on that. So definitely check that out or share that with someone who is going to be going to school. This applies for Michigan colleges, Michigan community colleges. So unlike MESP or things like that we'll talk about, If you go to Georgia Tech and things like that, it can't be used to pay for Georgia Tech, but it can for Michigan schools. Scholarships aims to make college more affordable and encourage students to pursue higher ed, career training within the state. And again, it starts with the FAFSA, for the Michigan Achievement Scholarships. It's relatively new and it's a really good deal. So something well worth pursuing. There's some of the particulars. It can supply up to $27,500 over 5 years. In yellow highlight is the part I just mentioned about community college. It's not need-based with a student aid index. Basically, it's no income requirements. It's free associate degree at a community college in the state of Michigan with this. It's a really, really good deal. Also for vocational and for trades, it offers up to $2,000 per year for 2 years to help students earn industry-recognized certificates. It's a very good deal for trade schools too. So the state legislature, the government has recognized the need for continuing education, and they are finally helping out with a lot of our students to make that a reality. There's also scholarships available from colleges, trade programs, businesses, civic organizations. It can be merit-based or need-based. And once you get into college, there's actually a lot more scholarships available when you're in college than when you're in high school applying for that. When my kids went to Michigan State, there's lots and lots of scholarships available for sophomores, juniors, and seniors once you're in. So many, sometimes they can't even find ways to give them away. So there's lots and lots of endowed scholarship opportunities once you get into your educational institution. So once you get in, keep applying. There's lots and lots of money available for all kinds of scholarships, either merit-based, need-based, and everything in between. Apply early. Early bird gets the worm, so if you're applying for higher education, community college, trade schools, apply as soon as you can, because they also open the door then for scholarship opportunities. I know Purdue did that. So the earlier you apply, the earlier you have a chance to get merit-based scholarships at Purdue. And as the academic year progresses, the door closes more and more narrow each day. And when the school like MSU or Purdue makes their class, that's it. They're not admitting any more people. They're not giving any more scholarships out. So the early bird gets the worm in terms of applying and for attaining scholarships. So use your leverage and apply early and often. Pell Grants, MSU has lots and lots of Pell students. This is for need-based. A lot of time, first person in a family to go to college. This is a grant. It doesn't have to be repaid, and it pays everything for tuition, room, and board. It's for exceptional financial need. Doesn't have to be repaid, and again, you start with the FAFSA. But the Pell Grant is a way for very, very low-income people in this country to go to higher ed, community college, vocational training, and so forth. So Pell Grant has helped lots and lots of very bright students who otherwise would have no family support. Other scholarship opportunities. National Merit, PSAT, those are exams that kids start taking as sophomores in high school. My second kid took the PSAT, hey, did really good. Went on, took the National Merit exam, hey, did really good on that. So I'm at home during your senior year and the phone rings, and somebody from Oklahoma calls me up and says, is Kelly there? No, she's at dance class tonight. Can I take a message? Yeah, this is Joe from Oklahoma, and we'd like to offer her a full ride scholarship. It's like, this is a prank call, right? No, Oklahoma will offer a full ride scholarship to any National Merit finalist scholar in the country because it helps them academically, and so they go around with the phone book of all the National Merit finalists, cold calling them up, offering them a full ride to go to Oklahoma just based on how well they did with National Merit exam. And they figure it helps their academic reputation there in Norman. One of my friends that I worked with at Michigan State, his kid was all ready to go to MSU, half-price tuition. His phone rang, Oklahoma, full ride. You know what he told his folks? See ya, I'm going to Norman. And he did. He took him up on it. So Kelly was all set for MSU, so she turned him down, but that's what Oklahoma will do through the National Merit, which all starts with PSAT exams. So you never know where it will lead. And some schools will offer very large scholarships for that. There's lots of foundation scholarships. We'll talk in a minute about the Lansing and Kalamazoo Promises. Those are fully endowed. Those are exceptionally great donor-based programs. Local high schools have scholarships, townships, Delta Township has a couple of college scholarships. Kelly got an Elks Club scholarship just from a cold application to it. You never know what's gonna happen. We're not Elks, but Kelly is now, by George. And so she got $2,000 from the Elks Club. So you never know, apply for everything. As I mentioned earlier, there's more scholarships available to returning students than new students. Honors College at Michigan State offers paid internships for the first 2 years if you're a professorial assistant recipient based on, back then, your ACT scores and grade point, but honors colleges also have special scholarships for academically gifted students. And again, use your leverage to see what universities have to offer. If you've got an offer from U of M, take that over to Grand Valley or Western and say, you know, I've got an acceptance here at U of M Engineering, but I really do like your program, Western. And so they might be able to give you a better deal. I guarantee you, U of M and Michigan State are not going to give you any kind of scholarships to go to their engineering programs because they are full with bright kids who don't need assistance. They can get the full rate for that, but a school like Saginaw Valley with their engineering program, or Calvin, got a good engineering program, Kalamazoo College, a great school, they will barter and wheel and deal with you if you leverage your other acceptances with them, because they would love to have bright kids who have been accepted into U of M attend Saginaw Valley, for example. It helps them, it helps their reputation academically. So use your leverage, get the best deal. Any questions? Josh? Nope. Here's Lansing Promise. If you live, intend to graduate within LSD 9 through 12, you're eligible for $10,000 for higher ed, or I'm sorry, $10,000 for community college, up to $20,000 if you attend MSU, Olivet, or Davenport. $10,000 for Douglas J. Avita Institute, cosmetology, barbering, and so forth. So all those are available for Lansing graduates. And this is an endowed program, and it follows what we'll see here on the Kalamazoo Promise, which was actually one of the first in the state, endowed in 2005. And for those familiar with the Kalamazoo Promise, if you graduate from a Kalamazoo public school, you will get 100% tuition and fees paid at any state public university or community college. It is a wonderful program, and many Kalamazoo students have taken advantage of that. Kalamazoo is a very philanthropic community. They have a lot of big givers that anonymously have contributed probably hundreds of millions of dollars in the endowment. And Jack, you know that endowment throws off investment income, and that investment income in perpetuity will pay tuition for every single Kalamazoo graduate from here to the end of time. It's amazing. A lot of Ivy schools have that too. University of Michigan School of Music, it's free because the entire program for the rest of the time is completely endowed and paid for. So there's a lot of Ivy schools that offer completely free education if you can get into the programs. And you see this more and more through philanthropic giving, Kalamazoo, and also the Lansing Promise. Lansing Promise is not funded as well as Kalamazoo quite yet, but it's a start, especially for community college. So opportunities like this are out there. It may not be that applicable for Grand Ledge or Waverly graduates yet, but you never know down the road, maybe opportunities might come along. But this is two examples of private endowments that are paying for public education. Great opportunities. Work study. This also is kind of need-based, but it's a way to kind of work yourself through school and U.S. Department of Education. It helps offset the cost of higher ed by earning money through part-time work, either on campus or local community. Unlike grants or scholarships, students must apply for work study and secure a qualifying job to receive the funds, which are paid through regular paychecks. So work study is something MSU does participate in. It's another way to reduce some of your costs. Graduate assistances. So if you've gone through like Bear Hess or MSU undergrad and you want to apply for a master's programs, there's great opportunities to pay for the master's through a grad assistantship. You might be teaching some classes. In turn, they will also give you free tuition. They'll give you usually health care benefit, and things like that, and stipends for housing and living expenses. So a GA is a great opportunity if you're in grad school to have that paid for by the university in exchange for perhaps you teaching some undergrad courses. So a GA is a great opportunity once you're done with your bachelor's degree to continue to pay for a master's program. Let's say that you're a lifelong earner and you work at Sparrow Hospital. You want to take classes at Western Michigan University pursuing your master's in public administration. Sparrow would have perhaps a tuition reimbursement program. So that's a way that you can pick up a master's degree while you're working through tuition reimbursements from your employer. MSU does that, and several other large employers do that because they also promote and support lifelong learning. So that's another way you can help to offset some of the cost of higher ed. Third way to pay for higher ed is to start saving early, and Jack, you alluded to this earlier with your excellent presentations. 529 is a qualified tuition program, tax advantage investment, whereby all of the earnings you have on your 529 savings isn't taxed, and you can use that to pay for your costs, room board tuition, for private, religious, out-of-state schools, anything like that. Regular investing in an index or mutual fund, as Jack mentioned, regular savings also through your own private investments, or even a student employment. The old working your way through college, and students can get jobs on the side. At least it can help a little bit with some of their entertainment or day-to-day weekend expenses. Those are also ways that you can help fund college.
You said that out of state, but I didn't think that out of state colleges qualified. You have to be in state.
I think for 529, you can use that for out of state. Anywhere.
Okay.
Anywhere. The Michigan Achievement Scholarship is in-state only,
Okay.
but when you have your own portable savings program like a 529, you can use that for any school around the world.
Okay.
You know, worst case scenario, you save too much money in your 529 plan. What can you do with it?
My daughter ran into that. She got a full ride at MSU, so she didn't use any of her 529. And so one of my kids used their excess 529 to pay for her master's degree. And you also can transfer that into a child's name, a grandchild's name, and you can carry that in perpetuity. You can transfer it to a spouse in case Kelly's spouse wants to pick up his master's degree. So it is portable and can be transferred to different owners in case you don't use it all. Great question.
Can't you actually cash it on if you pay taxes?
You can. Not a great use of it, but you can.
No, but, I mean, if you have a problem with
Yes.
excess money.
Yes.
Also, if it's in the account for 15 years, you can transfer that 529 plan to a Roth IRA.
Great idea. Yep.
With taxes
Up to
apply
30.
situation.
Up to 35,000, and you can only transfer the amount out of the 529 to the Roth, the eligible amount to the Roth that year.
Okay.
So it's all tax-free.
All right, in your packet is the MESP. That's the one I got for my kids. It's a great program for the state of Michigan, a 529 plan. And misaves.com is the way to get some information about that. That's in your packet. And that can be used for tuition, room or board, and kind of pay as you go with that. It's a great opportunity. And as Jack mentioned, if a grandparent sets up a 529 for a grandchild, then that does not count against
It doesn't show up on the FAFSA.
on the FAFSA. Yep.
So if you have a 529 plan and it's in someone else's name, you don't use that until the 3rd year of college, because FAFSA looks back 2 years. So it will not affect any scholarships or grants or any of that for college.
Yep. Another savings plan the state of Michigan provides is the MET, the Michigan Education Trust. The old commercials used to say, "I'm set with MET." So you can buy a prepaid tuition MET for a child at any age, including an ultrasound age, and then you can use that and it'll completely pay for all their tuition if and when they go to a state school years down the road. It does not pay for room and board, but it does cover tuition. It's a roll of the dice because not everybody goes to college. It's not for everybody, but it is a way that you can prepay with a MET, and then the state will invest that over the next 18 years, and then with the interest income that they earn, we'll pay for tuition at a state school with your MET. So this page is in there too. I prefer the MESP a little bit more than a MET. MET's a bit of a gamble, but it's out there. My least favorite way of paying for college is through student loans, but again, investing in yourself is a good idea. It's prudent debt. Student loans fall into two main categories: federal, funded by the government with fixed rates, flexible repayment, and private, usually offered by banks or credit unions based on credit scores. We have direct subsidized federal loans and unsubsidized. Direct federal loans subsidized are usually need-based, and unsubsidized federal loans have no financial need requirements. There are also plus loans for parents or for grad students and private loans. It all starts again with the FAFSA for any federal student loan that you might be applying for. And as I mentioned, here's the 4 types of federal student loans. The advantages of that, it's usually they don't start paying requiring interest until after graduation. They're more flexible, they have lower interest rates, and sometimes a possibility politically your loans might be forgiven. I know a few years ago, if you were in the teaching profession and you taught for X number of years, sometimes your student loans might be forgiven if it's federally based loan. The 4 types of federal loans are direct subsidized, direct unsubsidized, a federal direct plus loan, and the direct consolidation loan. If you have multiple, you combine them into one. Private loans, they come from private lenders. Usually they're higher rates. They require repayment, usually immediately once you borrow the money, and they are not subsidized. So these cost a little bit more. They're a little less flexible, but they are available. They are out there. It's a lot. Are there any questions? And I also have a student loan sheet that talks about the primary different types of student loans, and there's also a sheet in your packet talking about Pell Grant. So a lot of things you can take with you, share with other students, or so forth. Any questions, things that I might have missed? Comments? There's great opportunities. The ability to invest and save for higher education benefits everybody, and it doesn't have to cost an arm and a leg. There's lots and lots of ways to pay for it, lots of ways to have other folks pay for it, and you use your leverage. Through chaos comes opportunity, and the lower K-12 enrollment rates and things like that actually can benefit today's students because they will be more in demand. And you can use that to your advantage. So there's great ways to finance and pay for your higher education, community college, low-tech, all that. Thank you. If you have any questions and things like that, email me, call me up, and I'd be happy to help. And please take that and share that with friends that might help. Jack, did I miss anything?
Excellent presentation.
All right.